then thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Komudele, Katsula.
Komodele, Geshela.
Long time no see.
Long time no seen, but all is good.
That's good. 아니, 행님이라 Geshe Tsultrim sige, 아니 nga tanda Chenrezig Institute leya, 아니 tenja ke gendo cheni, the lochus drosons, and ding leya, saying a pelaya kevare, senita chiluchik donko je Geshe Kabduni, chenta jagalayoni, and you don't choose pardo, and nga Sera Gombalaya, the lojong roche. And Geshe Tsultrim, and so Tangaran Gehin Shabshu, and told Chen, and Miziki Mijins.
So good evening, everyone. So Geshela would like to welcome everyone. His name is Geshe Phuntsok Tsultrim. He has been the resident Geshe at Chenrezig Institute for the past 10 years. Geshela was born in Tibet, in Tibet, and he made his way from Tibet to India in 1987 and took residence at Sera Je Monastery in South India. He lived at Sera Je Monastery till 2014 and completed his studies, graduated as a Geshe. Also, amongst other things, he had the fortune to be an attendant to his teacher who passed away a few years ago. So that's Geshela's biography in a nutshell.
And that telling on Delia, so Chadormuchigi, and the Songchu, Tindindu, and T. Shusalaya, and the Charvi Kabdula Tene, and the Chukilari. Ishiri Baker Consumgi and in the Tsuyak Kodik Yakushuchik and Nanshas and Dan David Tonitin, that's so on the Chukilagi and in the Chuzolaya Karanki Chikashikashi Shena Yavutus Lavanza and in Adelia and in Gavingani in Karansalaya Charius.
So Geshela is visiting Perth at the moment, and the main reason for that is Chador Rinpoche's teachings. So having the opportunity to visit Perth, Geshela was also would like to extend his greetings and also say thank you to Chukila, to Yeshe, to Pekka, that made excellent arrangements for Geshela's visit at Hayagriva Centre. Since Chukila has been residing at Hayagriva Centre for quite some time now, and she knows Geshela, she also asked Geshela if he could visit the centre and hold a public talk. So here we are meeting here today.
Andirda tanga gabi toni da gabi toni en keransu salaya chayadinga gabi toni levius kansana tanga charni en ngaranso ji karsota en keransu laya talakta sanamundu ani shiyadi ani number sanji bichu tinani ta chomden diga lawja samu teva chimbi ta chukchogi ani lavje toni susu kanshi chishigi chishayagi tuzuji chagu yamsa tinga wani semtini gabi toni delaya chani ani tsikashi shundu indovatindi yus.
Geshela is really happy to be with you guys tonight. It's not just saying that. In terms of extending some gracious words, Geshela said that he doesn't have any present to give people other than sharing with you guys the teachings of the Buddha, the teachings coming from the Mahayana tradition. And so if Geshe could be of help, could assist in sharing the Mahayana Dharma with all of us, that's what Geshe is happy to do. So from the bottom of his heart, Geshe is happy to give this public talk tonight.
Any that one is something Gabo Yongoya, the Zoda the Karesana, Nimeselia, number Sanji, the church Jami, Mrs. Kiva Insro, Tinanita, and Tevachimbu church Jambares. And the Tevachimbu church Jam, Gooden Zodo, the Shenla Pendochia, the Chagioris, Ra. Some Namda ton, the Shenla Pendochia, the Pendochia, Jadangita. The Chagi Mambu Yorda in Bainaya, touching number Sanji Chu on the Pendochia, Susu Kang Shivigi, and Jomden Dig, Lavja Samudi, any Jean Pa, any Lavia Senamundu, any the share chairs and the Mundu, the tea, and so Chagi Yavanza, any the Dinji Kogo Raya di Susu Ngoni, any Hajang Kogo Samujilaya. Sidigius, Tinza, Tiani Chugila, Tujin, Dangandelia, Tusti, Shores, Love, and Karanso, Mimambuch Delia, and Zominza, one Sempini, Gabuchon songs.
Geshe is happy to be here today because Geshe spent most of his life studying the Buddha Dharma. Not only studying the Buddha Dharma in general, but particularly the Mahayana Dharma. And of the principal feature of the Mahayana Dharma, we find the aspiration, the motivation to be of benefit to others. Not only in general to be of benefit to others, we need to do it with a sincere state of mind, with a sincere approach. There are many ways to be of benefit to others, but to share the Dharma with others, to speak about the Dharma, to share the Dharma with others is said to be of the main way to be of benefit to others. And so Geshe thinks that this is an exceptional opportunity to share the Dharma with others, and therefore is really happy to be with you tonight. So thank you for the people that invited Geshe to visit Hayagriva Centre. Chökylä has made that invitation. So and also quite a few people have gathered today at the center. So Geshe is happy to be here tonight.
The Zavigi number Sanji Chu, the Mishanlaya, Shela, and Suzuki, and the Chudi, Yabuji, Shingo Dosra, and it's Yabushima Zamase, and it's Suzu Melaya Kang Shebadi, and it's Suzu Yamnen Chigoyagi. Nitsudi Kachambu Shuji Reshas. Taimba inaya and Chingalaya Tindi Yamne Yabu is the Kishu Medina. Kantu Chutuk Taji so Anitabasun Re Aniti Shizadi Ani Gogi Tensu Tire Anichi Taji Yam Tabi Sanjelaya Ani Ninji Samba Kiela Soba the Zoo Chaganza and the Kantu Chutuki the shading Miji in Slavna and it soon wrote Chagi Jumaresra.
So as we seek to benefit others in the Mahayana, in the Buddha Dharma, and the main way to benefit others is through teaching the Dharma to others, through speaking of the Dharma to others. Really, when you teach the Dharma, you need first off to know the Dharma, to understand the Dharma. That's the first, you can say, prerequisite. But also, if you are going to speak of the Dharma to others, to teach the Dharma to others, you also need to have practiced what you preach to others. And so Geshe does not claim to be a good practitioner. Geshe does not claim to be a good practitioner, but mainly in terms of one's attitude. Geshela said that he has the attitude or the wish to be of benefit to others, particularly those who are brought down by suffering. And so sentient beings who are in, you can say, in a pitiful situation, in a miserable condition. And so Geshe reckons that although he cannot claim to be an exceptional practitioner, he can still share the teachings with others. Rasola.
최소득로 가지려고는 등이 하고 마선 대체한서 가나간성기 아니 남바상기 최자네 교준분조의 도카버레스 디어바이나다 아니 다 가나간성 캔그로스 다 임바이나 다 쪼디 가르레스 라운디 남바상기 최냐면체 쪼디 아니 사바숨디 차기어레스 로 상기기 전부 자드셔동 송여레 전부 자드셔동디 아니 순디온디 데누송나라야 디고요레스 데누송구 조자디 라바숨디 차고레스 인자 다 냠넨치야디 라바숨디 쪼차고레스 아니 냠넨치 온디 라바숨나라 디고고요레 라바숨 냠넨치고요레 다디 nenga 타르토버로디 디차고도스라.
Geshela does not know specifically the history of Hayagriva Centre, how long have you been around, but he reckons that some of you have been studying and practicing the Dharma for quite some time, so probably you have gathered some knowledge of the Buddha Dharma as for now. But still, if we touch upon the main points, what we put into practice are the three trainings. The Buddha taught 84,000 discourses. And when those discourses are classified, you can find them under the three repositories, the three canons of teachings, and those teachings teach us the three trainings. So whatever we put into practice in the Buddha Dhamma, everything is included within the three trainings. That's all.
Dinza da laba song nangi zodi sudrum glaba teres. 다 수rum 글라바스라 온디 자위기 수rum 글라발라야 다 럼바 몽부쇼치 용구요레스 럼바 당부디 아니 소더기 수rum들이 니바디 장주선비 수rum 숨바상아가 수rum세다 아니 럼바수 용구요레스 다 디숨 냠넨치 온디 탑도 온디 상아가 수rum 냠슬랭고거레 상아가 수rum 용야라 장주선비 수rum 고구요레 장주선비 수rum 냠슬랭발라 아니 소더기 수rum디 메나 아니 잔주선비 수rum 세야디 자원이니 용야 메시와지 차관자 아니 소더기 수rum 차고레스 다 소더기 수rum 시야온디 아니 김바쇼기 수rum지다 아니 라브존쇼기 수rum 이인구요레스 다 조디 아니 지 아니 땡 김바이난다 라브존이난다 먼저 토모디 냠네 치고야디 아니 잠주 동바 아니 게닝기 동바 다 먹이 주고 수rum 라서바 디기다 먼저 토모디 아니 냠네 제거야기 냠네 내가 사슈직디 차기요레스.
And so of the three trainings, the principal one, the main one, is the training in ethical discipline, in ethics. And there are many different levels to ethics. But in general, when we explore ethics, we can look at the three levels of ethics. The first level is ethics of the pratimoksha, ethics of personal liberation. The second level of ethics is the ethics of bodhisattvas. The third level of ethics is the ethics of tantra, or more specifically of the secret mantra. And so for us, principally, what we want to put into practice at the end would be the ethical discipline of the secret mantra. But to be able to do so, we have to do that on the basis of the ethical discipline of bodhisattvas. And to be able to cultivate the ethical discipline of bodhisattvas, we need to do that on the basis of the ethical discipline of personal liberation, of pratimokshas, without which the ethical discipline of bodhisattvas will not come about. So it is absolutely necessary for us training the ethical discipline of pratimoksha. And so then for training in the ethical discipline of the pratimoksha level, the level of personal liberation, we can look at two divisions. You have ethical disciplines for monastics and ethical discipline for the laity, for lay practitioners. So here we have both monastics and lay practitioners. For lay practitioners, we also have ethical discipline. We have, for example, ethical discipline of refuge, the refuge vow, ethical discipline of the vow of approaching virtue, ethical discipline that abandons or that abstains from the 10 non-virtues. So these forms of ethical discipline are, for us, the foundation, the ground that we use for cultivating the other levels of ethical discipline.
Terda got hambudi jamdu dombatres. The jamdu dombadi mevaina and jamdu namda mevaina. Tachi number sanji vichu number chingi jimbaina number chaya godamasuna jamdu the chagar that the pesi can someone kinger was raw. And on the metameti number chelata chagin tambudi and conjosum capsun to jamdu namdati jamdu dombala rally they were tindi chaguanza the kitchen shoes rather di any kanji any number sanji vichula shubani chine tarangomos of some magi pardo any conjosum capsun to jamdu di any sort of in rogo as chaguanza any to the number condo any semnala tengoya di any jamdu di chik chagures.
And so we spoke of the level of the refuge vow as the level of pratimoksha or personal liberation. And so without pure refuge, it'd be difficult even to be considered Buddhist. So you guys are probably knowledgeable of it. For us, the entry into Buddhism begins with going for refuge. Without going for refuge, we will not become Buddhists. You can say that going for refuge is indispensable for becoming Buddhist. And so we develop pure refuge in the three objects of refuge, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. It's crucial. This is important. And through that, we enter into the Buddhist tradition and we continue to take refuge until we become Buddhas, until the attainment of our own Buddhahood. So in all ways, at all times, we need to be mindful. We need to remember our refuge.
Kanji namji ta disungora da sanji choda gendun tarban devanam kyabri slawandi ra number sanji bi ta chujin imboti tarbadire nganjuta tarba tobgo gore tarba tobala ya tarba tubi lam tengindi ani tamba sanji chomdendi ta nyachi koncha gores di tobi tab lamdi chödres ta chöna ta zo labasumdres ra ta labasum nyamnen chewala 초 gendu control tengo ta disum pe ani kaso ta nganzu ani drame chen ro ani chesi sa maji pardo suzu semdane ya ani tardu meba chenni ani nyago yagi nesu kecheshu di kamru di chagiyores ro ani kamru di semla jeba imbaina ta chogi shisaro di lagro dosro kinze tuda number kondo 아니 산지추 겐두스음디 아니 소주베 아니 소만지 체니 샘라 냐고야디 오네 빼 마스와 개치부 차고레스.
In general, we say that the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, these refuges are refuges for those who wish for liberation, those who want to be liberated. And so we want to be liberated. We want to be liberated from samsara, and to do so, the one who taught us how to become liberated from samsara is the teacher, the Buddha. He taught us the Dharma is the method for becoming liberated from samsara. We rely upon assistance, upon companions, the Sangha, in order to become liberated. And therefore, for us, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, these objects of refuge are important for us from this point onwards as Buddhists until we become Buddhas. Without going for refuge in the three objects of refuge, we lose the foundation, the basis for becoming Buddhists. And therefore, it is said that we need to keep the three refuges in our mind. We need to guard them in our mind like we would guard our life.
Camros long, that kanji sanji chicken do some laya, caps to Camros and Nanta, and each loss and Nanta, that teba, dot, tebadi, the Camro, so the chagadasra, Sanjilata, Ichigore, Sanjila Tebogore, Sanjiting on the Captain Bobo, Rotanga number in Slawandi, and Nambi Tembadi, Sanji Conchaganza, and Sanji Chomdendi, Nanzulaya, Lamdin Nangingi. Lamdun Shinji Malova Dungi Tembadi Sanji Coin Sambigi Sem Dingi P Sambaji Yobana and Sanjila Capstri Camrudi Chagiores the road so the Chagdasra.
And we need to have trust, we need to have faith in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, these objects of refuge. We need trust and we also need faith. We need trust, for example, in the Buddha. We need to have trust in the Buddha, the one who taught us the Dharma. The Dharma being the unerring path that leads us to our destination, to the state of liberation. So we need to have the trust, we need to have those faith arising from the bottom of our heart.
Oh, did it? That and Namju Suzu Samlaya Samudanera. 소소 산길이야지 아니 대박하수스 예메디 소소소 샘래야 소소소 꽃 마키와 차고야반자 하고그러 와서라 다 개지 대박 대점에 봐나 다 대박 용약이 쳐도 아니 지금 산기기 고샹야라 소바 아니 지금 산기기 꼴이야 초법이야라 소바 아니 산기기 생아 양도 장바 두 세바나 아니 산길에 대비 대박 이야기 아니 아니 조 차게여서 레스 로 아니 산지기다 고송 투송 그 연된 카리여바디 아니 소수기 피다 산지기 송을 딴 때는 장야라 소바다 아니 기위신일 때는 아니 산지기 고송 투송 그 연된도서 아니 장야도서 빼 마스보다 아니 남바이 지인 사회질도서 개첨부 쇼직 차기도 왔으라.
Our mind is not hidden to us, and so we can assess our mind. We could look at our mind and assess the degree of trust and faith that we have in the Buddha, for example. And so when we assess the degree of trust and faith that we have in the Buddha, and we find that so far we haven't developed a great degree of trust and faith in the Buddha, there are things that we can do. We can rely upon, for example, we can create statues, we can make offerings, we can recite mantras, and these are conditions for giving rise to faith in our heart. But also on top of that, we can study the qualities of body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. We can look at scripture, we can read books, we can receive teachings from our spiritual friends, from our lamas, teachings pertaining to the qualities of body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. And through that, we can give rise to faith and trust.
Tinzata namju bena sanji gita kundra tawa jing jebaina and jik kundra insama mayimba tipi gita jik dogu soya kyota chago soya kyota the desan gige sogora the dindi sama mayimba sanji kungu insambi dushi shatu baina and semla ya pendo di hajangi chimbu yungu yosares.
And so since we mentioned creating statues, when we come across a Buddha statue, when we see a Buddha statue, we ought not to think about it just as a statue. No, statues are made nowadays from different materials. We have metal statues. We have a statue that is made of stone, and nowadays people also create statues even from plastics. So we ought to look at those statues and not think about them just as being statues. We need to think about them as being a Buddha in actuality.
아니 무연에서라 tinang신 산지 무다오지 통약이 두시샤토바나 디츠그 소즈 샘나라야 가와캬바치 용구여라서라 아니 디츠기 샘나라야 게파자 캬바친지다 샤기여레 텔레테니 아니 산지라 이치비 이체디 슉첨부지 레기여레스.
After all, should something good happen to us, the mind is made happy. When we encounter something bad, the mind is made unhappy or miserable. And so when we think of coming across a Buddha statue and using that in order to develop joy in our mind, certainly we place a root of virtue in our mind. We accumulate a root of virtue, which then contributes to developing trust and faith in the Buddha.
다시 산지기 고송 특성이 연된다 주 디페나다 송기 연된다버디 먼저 가나강점지 년투여라서 아니 기වි신일 되는 년투여에 산지기 송으로 되는 아니 산지기 다 송기 연된디 먼저 통투에 된지 연구여라다 또 스테바이나 오늘 산지라야 대바지어바 야자자담바 차기여레스 간스나 아니 좀된 뒤엔 잠불인들라 페는 로니톤 추게스케지 시비어레 임바이나야 디린라야 트르 교슈 드로여다이나야 산지기 송디 로니톤 추게코나 송샤교티 단다른 감소라 송샤교스 소라치 아니 공고 여바치 차기어마도 공고 메바치 트르 교할 때니 산지기 송 준로야지 자와니니다 차기여 말아서라 그래서 딘디기 다지 미세와지 임바디 산지 송코라는 데니 똑투에 지어반자 먼저 산지에 대화샤나 샤워바치 샤야레 균세 여바치 야자야다마 요레스.
Of the qualities of body, speech, and mind, we can, for example, look at the qualities of the speech of the Buddha. And we can understand those qualities through listening to teachings given by spiritual masters. So we can also look at those qualities as described in the teachings that the Buddha left behind, the excellent teachings. And we can develop quite a good understanding of the qualities of the speech of the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha. Although the Buddha was alive and taught the Dharma 2,600 years ago, so quite a long time in the past, and quite as much has changed throughout the passage of time, still those teachings are very relevant to us in this day and age. It's not that the teachings have made irrelevant or unnecessary for us through the passage of time. They're still very needed. They're still very relevant to us. And so if we can not only recognize that, but also see that through those teachings, we can also develop realizations in our own mind stream. We can then come to a good understanding of the qualities of those teachings and thereby give rise to faith and trust in those teachings.
딘디체니 산길라 아니 대바요고야디 개첨부 차고 간스나 산길라 대바면나 캡점부 산길라 대바면나 아니 베기 산기기 땡샤베기 아니 추들이야 주야 신은 깔카고 차고레스 산기기 송샤베 랍샤들이야 아니 지 샘라야 태점 매번 주야기 아니 깬치디 산길이야 대바디 차고레스 대바 가주스 슈첨부여 디저기 아니 산기기 아니 랍샤들이야 주투고요레스 산기기 랍샤라야 라발라야 뒤즈 땅투고요레스 아니 산길에 대zam기 이체다 대바면은 아니 산기기 랍샤비야 대zam기 냠네 치 두고 말아왔어 대zam기 뒤즈 땅 두고 말아왔어 된자 산길에 대바디 신도네 로 남아 산기베 지금 봐이나 신도네 기침부 무연으로 들이 차거라서
So important to have faith in the Buddha. It's important to have faith, to trust in the Buddha as the teacher of refuge, because without trusting the Buddha, the teacher of refuge, it will be difficult for us to engage our Buddhist practice, to put his teachings into practice. After all, what pushes us, what conditions us to practice those teachings is the faith or trust that we have in the Buddha. Really, when we think about it, if we have no trust in the Buddha, if we don't trust the Buddha, we don't have faith in the Buddha, we're not going to see the teachings of the Buddha as being very important for us to put in practice. We'll not make time to put those teachings into practice. And therefore, to begin with, it is so important for us to make sure that we develop trust in the Buddha.
아니 더 도드메비 더 대바 아니 샘딩니 대바 영향 속에 상기 꾸지 상바야나야 로송 빵메 땅전이 그 상투고라서 때 간선 상기라 도드메비 대바 여반자 대정비 대바 메와이나 꾸지 상바야나야 로송 춘중 땅데야 아니 꾸도 슈사지 세바야나야 지 가서다 지잘라 껴리겨서 땅 소야마도 지 로송 침부 땅마도 들이 연구도 하서와 페나 당한주 벤전 로지다 Lama Zopa Rinpoche shabayana, Lama Zopa Rinpoche sanji kusong tusum ta shangwe ta rosong de ta katsus yobayana ya tang tuya di ane tuyu la ya sanji chu gendu sum la ya ta doktu mebi teba yobayanza, ichi yobayanza, ane dilijin legi yorasarwa.
When you think of really developing unshakable faith, unshakable trust in the Buddha, it will make you even create Buddha statues, put a lot of expenses, be able to offer so much in order to build a Buddha statue. Otherwise, without having that deep sense of trust, even if you were to build a Buddha image, a Buddha statue, you'll probably be disinclined to put a lot of your resources, a lot of money into doing so. I mean, for example, you can see how Lama Zopa Rinpoche have spent so much money, so many resources on building those holy objects. And that is indicative of the degree of trust and faith that Lama Zopa Rinpoche had in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Unshakable trust and faith.
다 간지 아니 덕겸로스나면도 상길의 대비 대바 동도메비 대바죠바나 아니 겸주 랍샬이야 랍투그레스 라 겸주 랍샤다 조디 메기주봉 수름송야디 차가도 하서라 메기주봉 수름송야라야 아니 태som메바 베기 메기주봉 수름라야 랍투그요레스.
And with unshakable faith in refuge, you'll be then, you would want to pick up the trainings in the 3 trainings, the training in refuge, sorry. You will then be motivated to take up the training in refuge, essentially to have no hesitation in taking up the ethical discipline which abstains from the 10 non-virtues.
일단 메기주봉 수름을 랍투바이나 테니 땅안조 가서다 세 딜레이마 나야 디기 기자와디 소소라야 메기주봉 수름 약부지여바나 아니 세디 기부징아니 아니 세디 기투여서레스 아니 개와 치만 드바이나야 원이 지 덴드리 텐상 로 안주다 남길라고다 타와제든 조준 사회 류된 캐벌전 토백이 규조디 아니 메기주봉 수름 양타발라 소마스라이 라리기요레스.
And training in the ethical discipline of the 10 non-virtues, it will contribute to happiness and well-being in this life. We can see how the training in ethics that abstains from the 10 non-virtues does contribute to the happiness or the well-being that we enjoy in this life, but also it creates this stable foundation for a good state of rebirth in our next lifetime. After all, when we discuss a precious human rebirth, we describe a precious human rebirth in terms of having 8 freedoms and 10 richnesses. And what creates the foundation for that is the ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtues.
That been done on the mean by the Tundruli covered puppy, Ludinji Yobatan, Tundruli covered puppy, Nubachi Yobanza, Nubadi, Pigitagia, Yagidrea, and it's so di, and it Mugichubunku Sutrumgi, like Tengu Yosares, Mugichubung Sutrum Yabuji Yobana, and in Namjuta. Chanding namju ani lengi pi jetoyage namju 풀chung 용약이 ani ten zodi ani 미기주봉 수름 샤거레스.
After all, when we also look at our own capacities as human beings, we can see that there's something quite special about us as human beings when we compare ourselves to animals, for example. In terms of the body, our body that supports a consciousness that can be improved. We can improve our consciousness depending upon the body that we have as human beings. And when we consider what making improving means, really, the improvement comes with ethical discipline that is supported by the development of wisdom or intelligence that can well distinguish between what is right and what is wrong, what is positive, what is negative. We can develop our incredible capacity to be discernful people, to know better what we ought to do and what we ought not to do.
Mangojune Matubaina, any Tanding Namjudan, and the Lengi Namajibi, Namju Yongadi, Shindun Galika Shagorasra, the D Mangonayagi, Tabshi Yashudi, Mugichu Surum Sonya, the Chagores.
For us, without suppressing the manifestations of anger, attachment, and such afflictive states of mind, it'd be very difficult for us to develop our intelligence, our wisdom. And so, the best way to develop our wisdom, to be incredible wisdom, the one that knows well the difference between right and wrong, good and bad, and so forth, the best way that we can develop this wisdom is to create the foundation for that, which is ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtues.
Chagdang Mosumgi Shawan Kurdeva Imbaina, and the Rangel Shem Pamiagi Samloj Mato, Chi Nyamtabi Simjin Shenlaya, Pandochiagi Samlon Koyadi, Shendun Galakawres. The Dindiji Mevaina, and the Chanjusimbi Lamla in Jugadan, Chanjusimbi Jobal Laviadan, Chanjusimbi Dombosonia the Sovadi, Zawani, Yomasi was Chagavanza, and Dig Zawa, Tiyongagi Zawadi. And
so long as our mind is still governed by anger and attachment and such afflictive states of mind, we will still only continue to seek our own victory in certain situations at the expense of others, our own victory and the defeat of others, without developing that aspiration to be of benefit to sentient beings who are wretched, who are in a pitiful situation. So that's one thing, but also when we consider our bodhisattva training in bodhicitta, in the mind of enlightenment, putting into practice the bodhisattva conducts, taking upon ourselves the bodhisattva vow, the foundation for that, again, is ethical discipline, particularly ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtue.
The Chanjusembi 가서다 소들기 동바 냠슬레 아니 잔주선비기 좁은 아니 랍 아니 다 상아 도지 TV 람라야 쪼디 먼저 체 다가랑라야 아니 산지 공부 토야기 체도 상아 도지 TV 쳐라야 쪼디 아니 체통 디텔이야 아니 산지 쳐라야 산지 공부 토야디 아니 쪼디 차고레스 다 산지 공부 토야기 탑 비기 가서 산지 공부 토발이야 파르 중인디 아니 뉴몬보다 시지도 봐야지 차고레스 디페 싸우는 점시디 아니 최 남긴 내루 태권은 또비 아니 셔럽 사무디 차고연자 아니 디 용이야야 아니 라바땡인 생기 라발이야 땡고거레스 라바땡인 진 라바키야기 파체 소로 쪼디 가스나 아니 쪼 아니 다 차당 차고도 왔어 아 차당한테 차발로 소보 쪼 차고도 다딘 고야기 아니 때 아니 탑이 약수디 먹이 주고 수름래야 땡겨레스 땡자 신도는 계신부 그러 아니 출름 송야세디 신도는 계신부래샤스
And so we take upon ourselves the bodhisattva practice. We train in the bodhisattva practices, the bodhisattva conduct. We do so on the basis of the pratimoksha level, ethical discipline of individual liberation. And on top of that, we then add to that the ethical discipline of Tantra, of the sacred mantra. And on that basis, we can render ourselves possible, capable of becoming Buddhas in such a short lifetime, such as the one that we have now. And so what we then need to do in order to become Buddhas is to destroy the things that prevent us from becoming Buddhas, the obscurations, particularly the two sets of obscurations, cognitive obscurations and afflictive obscurations, without which we will not be able to become Buddhas. And so then the actual thing that destroys our obscuration is wisdom. Wisdom that realizes reality, wisdom that realizes the way that things exist. And therefore, we need then to employ means to develop wisdom. Mainly what we need to do is to develop concentration, the training in concentration. And the things that hinder, that obstruct the development of concentration are our own afflictive states of mind, anger, attachment, and such. And so we need to arrest our own afflictive states of mind to be able to develop concentration so that we will also be able to develop wisdom. And the best way to put a stop to our afflictive states of mind, again, is to develop ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtues.
아니 땡인진기 라바디 신은 계신부 차고 그래서 샘 차단게 온도 아니 손대바는 가드이나 샘디다지 아니 데사다 나미야라 소비 샤원디 큐르데바이나 아니 네루테 코나니라야 샘 때야세디 신은 갈가고 그래서 네루테 코나니기 전에야 샘지 때마도나 아니 타와드 탐지기미 공부토세디 요무스고지 차고야 반사 다 간진 돌드나 아니 타바송이 냠는 체디 근데 산지기 추기님보디 라바송라야 라브수디 드레샤스로
So we seek to develop wisdom that realizes reality, that knows the way that things exist. And for that, the training in concentration is crucial. And so our mind is affected by certain states. It is affected by a sense of discursiveness, or but sense of mind is susceptible to distraction. And so long as the mind is susceptible to such afflictive states of mind for that long, we will not be able to develop concentration that supports our wisdom. And so without the development of that wisdom that realizes reality, we will not attain the state of liberation. We will not become Buddhas. And therefore, concentration is crucial, but also getting rid of the things that hinder our concentration is crucial.
아니 라바숨 피 lamnginch gegin tia kechimbu pe chagorosro ani talabasum nyamnen chesagi ne penata chik chozon de tawati sanin de dawaji mana shindun kechimbu rewas ra tinza ani chamlo chanzo min mambudu ani ruru chechin ra chozon di tolaya chik shugyangye ani laksam kingye chik chozon di chaksubo yongyala yan bezun che dengi tuzolaya gyabgyur che roba che ne 아니 최저디 착수부용야 최저디 야기 땅고야 또 신도는 개침부 레스로 안지 소존 조선 땅에 여바나 로버치 투고 여바나 아니 최저 디톨야 조선 땅 최저 될 로버치 마음방원이지 아니 오스트레일리아 양용이야 지 펜토야 때내지 마셔봐야냐 아니 웨스턴 오스트레일리아 원이지 개체슈기 때내지 아니 소투고야디 캐런존 겐소를 차고레스로 그래서 남바이나 오늘 산지 템벌에 팽그리 심징 디기레 팽그리 지 총산의 시에바나 오스트레일리아기 아니 모망라야 아니 팬도 체슈디 디차그레스
To practice the three trainings, it is important to rely upon a spiritual teacher that teaches us how to then practice those three trainings. And so the place that we come together to study the way that we put into practice the three training is a Dharma center, such as the one that we have here, Hayagriva Center. And so we have quite a few people that have gathered today here to meet Geshela and to listen to Geshela's advice. And so when we think of supporting each other in studying the three trainings, practicing the three trainings, we need to, as much as we can, to continue to help and support each other. It's so important to support each other in doing so, because we will then be able to continue to do that. We'll be able to improve our activities. You will be able to improve what you do if you support and help each other. If you can help and support the activities of Hayagriva Center financially, that would be excellent. Even if you cannot then be hugely beneficial to everyone in Australia, in so doing, you'll be helping people in Western Australia, in WA. And this is a goal as Buddhists, right? We want to be of benefit, not only to the Buddha Dharma, but we want to be beneficial to sentient beings, to improve the well-being, the happiness of sentient beings. This is for us. This is so important to us.
number 3 위치 디난 대버친 위치 시행원디 심전 탐지를 라고 그랬어. 심전 탐지를야 가요라요 그 편도치 마투고 있느냐. 소수 년콜의 예비 소수 내사의 롱바 디기 엔지 심전 학년들 다지 미지절이야 편도 가주 제토야가 누버 여바데 때문에 편도 제거야디 개체수 제거라서 칸 심전 탐지selab 단단 엄마디 아니 소수 내사기 산이 디기지 아니 미절이야 편도 제기 편도지 제마도바는 드니 식 동바소를 차로다서
In the Buddha Dharma, particularly in the Mahayana Dharma, we speak often of the benefit of all sentient beings. Well, no, we speak about all sentient beings. But if we cannot, for the time being, be of benefit to all sentient beings, at the very least, we need to be able to do so with respect to the people in our community. It's so important to be supportive of people in our community. If we speak of all sentient beings, the benefit of all sentient beings, and yet neglect those in our community, our heart and activities are not in line. So this is really important to, at the very least, make sure that we help and support, we improve, we nourish the well-beings of people in our community.
남주가 하나 갈상했으나 답변은 향순 델라 슈고여라서 향순 델라 슈니 향순 땡땡 향순 나눠야지 출로 변하다 아니 야가리 아니 지기다 아니 니요 망부게 아니 냠타기 메다 지 콤바타사 텐딜라 텐데 아니 로버칭이 이기레스 베마세베트니 저 제스이라레스 이번에 주 소소네사기 냥코르기 아니 지 가서다 냠타비 메세나 문도 지다 니무토 섬기 아니 샤원 결대버스는 문도 간지 산지기 출래야 몬딩인기 아니 강사 솔래야 몬버디 세비체도 팬도치 드마투바이나 아니 셴래야 가주스 팬도치 대바이나야 아니 소수티기 아니 강사초 아니 내야 팬도치 마드나 다디 캔자로지도 아스라 소수 네사기 수수 여사기 냥콜기 밀래야 아니 팬도치 체마드나 텔레기비기 잠빌리 셴바기 심전에 팬도치 세디신 깔리 가오러 왔으라 딘자 계란조다 남바산지비 최제기열에 남바산지비 최를 슈기열에 자 롱바 디기 밀래야 팬 통행시바게 남바산지비 최 냠는지 쑥 두고야디 하장 계층부레스 이게 삼는 계층부 베레스로
So for those of you guys that are here today, you live in WA. And so it's, often you get involved with projects or activities that benefit others overseas, for example, in India or monasteries overseas. And Geshe rejoices in all those activities. But really, when we think of people in our community, the people around us, people who are controlled by anger, attachment, and so forth, the three poisons, those who are clouded, those who are ignorant with respect to the Buddha Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, it'd be awkward to neglect them, to not do something for them. It would be strange. And so without also making sure that we help, that we support those around us, it'd be really difficult or strange to think that we're aspiring to be of benefit to everyone in the world, particularly for us as Buddhists, right? So we regard ourselves as Buddhists, as Buddhist practitioners. So it's important not only to develop those general intentions to be of benefit to everyone, but also to make sure that we support at least those who we come in contact with, those who are in our close circles, those who are in our community.
And to the
That's all.
That 다지 망바 오니 지 캐란솔에 양이 지 펜토스에 삼선으로는 캐란송갈라 아니 라바나 녜게 로버치 초그레스 지 나들 직시에서 용바나 캐란송갈라 라차도 지 짜오니니 고마레스 당한테 용다 남들께서 당히케를 마더라 셴바 칸야 고마니 나 공상게 답도 되니 지 캐란솔에 단다지도 아니 치길래도 지 팀지기 pena ta lamrong course or lojong course or tindi one robachi goya ki tuzu de yoba na ngala ba na ngi jase ja ta ba gawe ton tan sing ngun shiba nan sing ki chi chogres ro.
So thinking of the future, since Geshe is visiting Hayagriva Center for the first time now, Geshe is happy to come again in the future. If a few people would like him to come again in the future, it's not a big deal. The only thing, Geshe does not require payment as such. The only thing, of course, that Geshe needs is a flight ticket. But it's pretty easy. All the other things are pretty simple. So you have Venerable Chukyi, and Chukyi is staying with you, and Chukyi has a contact with connection with Geshe. So later on, if you have any wish, any plan to have some Lamrim teachings, mind training teachings, and so forth, and you want to make some time for studying it together, Geshe is will be happy to visit Hayagriva Center again in the future.
Thank you. Ojana, and concentrate on the
Ngala yu.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
So these are the things that Geshela wanted to share with you guys tonight. And Geshela is wondering if you have any questions that you want to bring up. Questions, objections?
Yes. Yeah. I think you can come here. Translator.
I'll be loud enough.
No, I can't hear you. Sorry. I can't hear you. Maybe if you stand next to Geshela, I'll be able to hear you.
Yeah.
I just want to know whether rituals were taught by Shakyamuni Buddha.
Dila di ngazo nambe chula choga chalen minda yorwa. Ani choga chalen di sangi chom den dengi ten nambarve ani Gemala jumbarve choga chalen di kande chinas.
So the Sanjamden the song was ra. Dongan Gagi Chedi and a Konto say Yanaman Sanjamden the race. The dinner test is any Kaza touch Sanji Mus Pigi Chick the Nima Somba in a Elia any Junsen Dembi Tony Yagitan Chogras. Madozavi Sanji song Chagores.
So in general, when we look at the principles which are included in the rituals that we do, you can say that all of them are based on Sutra and Tantra. Of course, there are specifics within rituals that you find which might not have been directly indicated as such by the Buddha. You can say that maybe there are some things like that. But Geshe reckons that if the main corpus of those teachings was taught by the Buddha, you can still then in certain situations make improvements, or you can include different things in those rituals which are still in line with the Sutra and Tantra systems that the Buddha taught.
Tanda Javatsungapagi Jizun Jambian Drip, any Jizun Jambian Gisharsi, any Jizun Jambian ya Kandrena tu Sede Digi, any Kapchilaya, Jizun Jambian, Tacharangalia, Mixi, Matan degrees, Charangi, Sangi, Long Day Shabigi, any Gombulu down, Papa Tomelo Sova Kanji, any Shinda Chimbu Tedaki, any Shonla Deni, Janshos, Tit. Titamchita Sangi Gombaris. I got the Nando Asra.
We rely upon in this tradition upon the great Tsongkhapa, the victor Tsongkhapa. And it said in Lama Tsongkhapa's life story that in his practice, he made effort and came to see Manjushri, the Venerable Manjushri, face to face. He had, you can say, a direct vision of Manjushri. And Manjushri said that even at some point he said that even if he doesn't have any direct questions to Manjushri, still the answers to Lama Tsongkhapa's questions are found in the beings that were prophesied in the teachings of the Buddha. So the Buddha gave prophecy with respect to masters that came later on, such as Arya Sangha and the protector Nagarjuna, the master Nagarjuna. And so in that sense, the Buddha said that Lama Tsongkhapa himself would be able to find those answers in the teachings of masters that came after that.
Finish? Yes. Yeah, okay. Shigeyusa.
Thank you, Geshela, for your wonderful talk. After someone dies, is it better that they're born as a human being or in a pure land?
Tadi me dende chi gomba zowa ina di trontsane ani yangya milu lena yagarve siamena shinkamla pena dewa chintabu kewa lena yagares.
तो खांसा सोसला या राली के सरस खांसा रीची की ना देवचन की ना संबी की रेव जब देंगे जो रो मतलब ठेंग ngoma ताजी chanju sembi ki chobal ya shukche ne nyam tabi sumjen la ya robachi ya tang chi ane sangi komba tan gyobu top gongi jimba na ane luden ya shudi mi ludi chagyo sares.
It depends on the wishes of different individuals. Like, for example, if someone is really hoping to be born in a pure realm in the next lifetime, then for that person, maybe that's the best thing, the best outcome. But then when you explore that from the viewpoint of the bodhisattva practice, the bodhisattva conduct, and goal is to be able to be of benefit to sentient beings who are in a poor, pitiful, sentient beings who are wretched. And so the best way to be able to help, to care for those sentient beings is to be born again as a human being.
Ani jawa tsunga be sompo de chobgele ya mentune lobjon che tungi chawana ta tele lagaji kanya kewa shimba kanya gosamares ti ngone semdin ni chengdosro.
So Geshela said, at least for him on a personal level, the way that he thinks about it is that in his next lifetimes, not only once but continuously, if he can be born again as a human being and be a monk, even if it's just kind of a simple monk, and still to be able to study the writings of the great master Lama Tsongkhapa. The writings of Lama Tsongkhapa were compiled in 18 volumes. And so if Geshela is able to continue to, from life after life, to do that, Geshela said that he doesn't have any other hopes or expectation. That would be, for him, the best outcome.
Yeah, continue.
Geshela, I just wanted to be beside you.
Yeah, yes, similar.
That made me laugh. Geshela, thank you. I have read many times the difference between the Mahayana and the Theravadan traditions. But I would like to hear from you what you can tell me the difference is, please.
Quran di Tegba Chimbotan Tegba member di Keba Karimba di Tegba Shila Ton Sonsa. Ine di Keran Samna Nenga Tsodi, Keba Tsodi, Temental, Techen, Keba Tsodi, Kandichinas.
Sabi sangi ge koma denshabi ge denji chö ti nyamsilemba ti ani tegwa chejong la ya kyaba tindu tsam yo mares. Ta ti gang la ani tarba toba la ya tarba tobi ge lam tabasum nyamsilemba la ya ani tegwa chenpo dang tegwa chong la ya kyaba tsawani ni yo mares. Ta tegwa chenpo di rang tarba toba tsam maase shen samjan tamje tarba toba la ya ani roba che dengi samlo tang dengi ro 어디 차니 딘지지 차니 마도 개버신 기요 말했다 정무시바나
Thinking of the foundation of the teachings, when the Buddha taught for the first time, he taught the will of Dharma of the four truths. And so there's no difference between Mahayana and Hinayana related to the four truths, no difference at all. Also, when we think of the path that leads to the attainment of liberation, the path of the three trainings, there is no difference in between the Mahayana and Hinayana in terms of the three trainings that lead to liberation. The difference is just in terms of one's attitude, one's motivation. In the Mahayana, one's motivation, one's attitude is not just concerned about one's own welfare, but it is concerned about helping other living beings, all living beings. It thinks of other living beings, all living beings. It is the orientation is seeking to be of benefit to all of them. And that is, in Geshela's opinion, the difference between Mahayana and Hinayana.
아니 달 걔는 람름라야 테스트 로종 체토바나 안 세우 쇼지 차그레스 라 먼저 태버 침 중우당 태버 침부기 람냠슬렘서 림바니가로 강사 직창게위기 람라야 랍수고 림바디다 람람난 장관람 총가바 침베다 람람 친지 나로라야 다 세우 쇼지어레스 텔랑가와 칸요 말레스라 먼저 강사 직이야 상게발라야 아니 페나 덴드로라야 께니 람라 질라 마투나 먼저 상기 세디 신은 깔레카고 차고라스 디차니 깨부충 삼바 떼요레스 데니 랑 뉴몰레 토마투나 랑 뉴몰레 토마투나 신 심전 탐지 상기 살은 거세디 자원이니 용무시와진 반자 태바 최종 그 강사 순라지기 뭐냐야 랑 뉴몰레 트리뷰 탑 피기게 아니 년종다 다음에부터 또 로라야 랍수그 림바디 केव 총원 링 삼바드 차고레스 디 아니 태버 침부 추 징이지 뭐냐야 냠는 게 쪼라 캐는 로고고레스 라 다디 강라야 산기 야 비기다 랍수 림바디다 잔주선 비춰봐 생긴디 디 강라 눈베 야야레 마도 아니 비기게 태버 멤버 केव 링기 삼바드 토르니 태버 침부 로종세야지 자원이니 요마레스 산지추는 자원이니 요마레스 라天生가와 자원이니 요마레스 들라
And so if you study the Lamrim tradition, the tradition of the steps of the path to enlightenment, you become very clear about how there's no contradiction between Mahayana and Hinayana in terms of both needed in order for a single individual to become Buddha. So if we, on a personal level, if we do want to become Buddha, if we do want to become enlightened, we need to rely both on the Mahayana and Hinayana teachings. After all, when we think of the expense of time that it will that is required for us in order to become Buddhas, we need from life after life to be born in a good state of rebirth, in a happy rebirth, and without being born in a good state of rebirth, it'd be very difficult for us to become Buddhas. And so the way to do so was taught in the Hinayana tradition. But not only that, also just to become liberated from our afflictions, to attain the state of liberation, to become completely free from afflictions, we also need the Hinayana practices, the Hinayana teachings, and therefore thinking about it from the viewpoint of those of the steps of the path of the three scopes, those sets of teachings were taught in the stages of the path which are shared with those of the small capacity, the stages of the path of those which are common to those of the medium capacity. In short, teachings on renunciation, the determination to live cyclic existence, and also the teachings on developing wisdom, both of them are found within the steps of the path of the small and medium scopes. And these are also given in a Hinayana context. If you are seeking to attain the Buddha level, the Buddha ground, on top of that, you need then to add the Bodhisattva practices, the Bodhisattva training. So your goal would be not merely to rid yourself of afflictions. The goal would be to be of benefit to others in attaining the state of Buddhahood. And for that, you will need the Mahayana teachings. But then, when we look at a summation of that, there's no contradiction between Mahayana and Hinayana.
대번 members 되는 세절 대번 members 되는 나라에 송야 조디 수dum기 라바타 인종 그 삼바 다음에 또 비셔럽 숨디 아니 대번 members 되는 나라에 조된 티차게 어레스 디 아니 수dum기 라바 아니 인종 다음에 또 로디 아니 태버 준비 강사 쪽에 냠는 게 조직 차고레스 다 드니 태버 준비 되는래야 디가는 넘베 가리얼스라디 닌지의 찬주고 셈생인데 뜻수 자리야데마도 셴복한 요 말했더라.
And so you don't need to reject or to rid yourself of Hinayana teachings in order to, or the Hinayana in general, in order to practice the Mahayana. So for example, looking at the principles in the Hinayana set of teachings, the Hinayana canon. So you have teachings on ethical discipline, renunciation, and the wisdom of selflessness. These are taught in the Hinayana set of teachings, which are required for liberation. And for us, if we practice the Mahayana, we still need them. It's not that we then rid ourselves or kind of reject, give up teachings on ethical discipline, renunciation of the wisdom of selflessness. They are required for us. But then on top of that, we add compassion and bodhicitta.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. We can bring this session to conclusion.
Rinpoche ma che ban ye gyur chi dewa namba me ba ya kore kundu dewa.
Page 9, careful on that to say darling. You too on the Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Lord of Dharma, Lord of Buddhist, the various institutions of those living communities. The leader and the of your world, in the past. The sacred young tradition, essence of the education, all hosts and holy Lama, to you are so free. We meditate prayers and supplication, O Lama, these needs.
Geshela. Thank you so very much, Geshela, for offering to come back again and again. I think you can hear me. Coming back again and again, many times, please, for more teachings. We are, as you see, a lot of interest and, wish for that, need for that, and for Geshela's long life and continue to give advice. And also Venerable Katsunla, thank you very much. Lovely to see you again. Thank you. Sorry about the time zone difference.
No worries.
Little bit confusing for me. So if anyone would like to offer kata to Geshela, I think everybody's already lining up. So, and we've got an amazing light show happening online.
Thank you so much, Geshela. It's a joy to have you here. Thank you. Thank you, Geshela. Travel all across Australia to listen to you teach. Thank you so much. Please come again. We'd love to see you again. Thank you. Did you check? See you.
And I'm from Mongolia.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Come again. Then is Pure Land study for people dying. Thank you, Geshe. Teaching wonderful.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshela. We'll come back again.
Thank you very much, Geshe. Thank you.
Good.
Geshe,